Norse mythology doesn't get the attention that it deserves in today's society compared to Greek and Roman mythology. It's a shame because Norse mythology is very interesting to read about in books. Thankfully, the game I'm reviewing today, Odin Sphere, is a nod to Norse mythology. It's an adventure RPG game released in 2007, yet it's also a side-scrolling 2D game. First, I'm going to talk about the graphics in this game. The graphics are pretty poor even for 2007. If you look at the game, you'll think that it was made several years before 2007. By far, the worst thing about the graphics is that if you're in an area heavy with enemies, the game actually slows down like it would if you're trying to play a too powerful game on a weak PC. Now I'm going to talk about the music and sound in this game. The music in this game is orchestral and among the best music I've ever heard in a video game. The songs really either get you pumped up for battle or give you a chance to relax a little, yet kind of prepare for the next battle. So music gets full marks. Sound effects, I'm going to mostly talk about the voice acting here. Voice acting is pretty good, but the thing is, for a game that was released in 2007, all the dialogue is voice acted, and not all games in 2007 were like that. So, Odin Sphere gets some bonus marks here. Next, I'm going to talk about the story in this game. It's very similar to the game Sonic Adventure for the Sega Dreamcast. There are 5 different stories in this game, and then somehow they all come together in a certain way that I'm not going to spoil for you. Controls, I'm going to talk about next. Hitting the square button on the PlayStation 2 attacks. Hitting the triangle button lets you select cipher skills. And there are some moves that you need to know that the game will teach you in the game. Finally, I'm going to talk about the most important part of any game, the gameplay. As I said, there are 5 different books. Each book plays out like this. There are 6 chapters and an epilogue. In each chapter there are 6 scenes. It goes like this. Scene 1 is you're at base preparing for battle. Act 2 is you're watching a video where you prepare for battle. Act 3 is when you go through the stages themselves, the different areas. Act 4 is when you meet the boss of the area. Act 5 is when you have to go against the boss. And Act 6 is the ending for each chapter. And then after that, you go into a new chapter and thus a new area. There are 8 different regions in this game, and as you go through each region, regular areas are labeled with a difficulty level of 1 through 5, with 1 being the easiest and 5 being the hardest. The goal in each area is to kill all the enemies. Some rooms instead are mini boss rooms, and you have to kill the mini boss before you win. Some of the areas are shops. This gives you a chance to catch a break and buy items. And then the final room in each area is the boss room, and the hardest, and obviously harder than the mini bosses in the stage. In addition to fighting enemies, you must also use alchemy and growing plants with phosons that are released from killing enemies. The reason why you need to do this is because you don't have one different level indicator, you have two. One for HP and one for strength, which you do by absorbing phosons. When you absorb enough phosons, your character gets stronger, and when you eat enough fruit, which provides another set of experience points, you level up there and you can take more hits before you die. Thankfully, the death penalty is very lenient in this game. All you have to do is repeat the room with all the items you got before you came into the room. And you can save anywhere you want, which not many games in 2007 did that, and more games today do that. Also, it's a good thing though that the death penalty is lenient, because the gameplay is pretty challenging, especially when you're in the 5-star difficulty rooms and the hard bosses that you'll face at times throughout the story. So all the features in this game really complement each other very well. In conclusion, Odin Sphere is a bit of like a foreshadowing for some of today's greatest games. And it's fun to go through the game, beating up all the enemies, listening to the music, and knowing how and learning how the story progresses. So I'm going to give this game a 9 out of 10. Alright, thank you for listening.